Shane Beamer and his team, what a tremendous job those guys did. They came into a tough environment with some relatively young players who played with great composure and started with a really good plan against us. I thought they executed, out-executed us for sure there in the first quarter. But your kids played hard. They played really hard. Next thing I'd like to thank is our fans. You know, the momentum in the second half was created, number one, by the offense having a really good possession in the second half, but the fan, I think the fans and the feeling of that momentum is a powerful thing. And the momentum of our fans in the second half of sticking with us, sticking by us, and staying with us was incredible, and that momentum turned things around for us and gave us a lot of momentum, so that was good.
What was the message and the mood at halftime?
Calm, composure. We talk about our 4 DNA traits. When things get tough, that's what you do. You rely on your DNA traits. I was pretty excited at half because I said we're going to find out what kind of team we got. And I said this is it right here. This is our moment. You know, we've had moments in other games, and we're going to try to win one moment at a time in the second half. Nobody's going to go out there and score a 14-point touchdown. You're going to win one moment at a time, play by play. And when we lose a moment, we got to win the next moment. And they kind of bought into that, and the drive allowed us to get some momentum, and that was the difference in the game, the momentum of the second half.
Coach, it seemed like they were having some success early, getting some pressures. I guess what was the key to the adjustment, or if there was a
Well, they didn't seem like they were getting pressure. I mean, they did a good job. You know, when you block 5 guys and do 5 and 6 man protection, and they bring 4 and 5 guys, they're gonna get pressure. You got to win quickly. You got to get the ball out. You got to have a good plan. You got to have guys to get the ball. You got to make them pay. You know, they made us pay. We pressured, and they made us pay there on probably the most pivotal play of the game was the first third down in the red area, and we pressured, and they had a really good call against that pressure. And then we missed about 5 tackles. So I mean, at the end of the day, is it what they did or is it what we did? And their pressure was effective early, and we made them pay for some of it, and we got a running game going. That was the biggest difference.
Dominic Lovett had 5 catches in the second half. Bowers had 4. Just what can you say about those 2 guys stepping up and making plays in the second half when your offense?
Yeah, again, I think of those 9, 6 of those or 7 of those were runs. You know, we had this conversation before. Remember?
We did.
Yeah, those were runs. That was good. So those were catches that were runs. So that actually the run game worked a little more, and then the run game you don't recognize worked well too. So both those were good. We take a lot of pride in that because if we're going to struggle to run the ball, or if we're going to struggle to have healthy backs, we have to create it other ways.
Do you expect Dejan to be that effective first game back?
Absolutely. I would expect Dejan to be that effective last week, this week, or next week. He's a good back. He's a tough football player, and we're fortunate that he was healthy today.
What was the injury for Marius, and what did you make of how the offensive line played once he went out?
Well, they practice that way all the time, so it's kind of what we do. You know, we put the next man up, and I don't know, it's an ankle sprain. I don't know how significant. No clue. Seems like ankle sprains all over the country right now because everybody's got ankle sprains. We got ankle sprains everywhere. But I don't know how significant it is, so we'll find out. But I was proud of Truss being able to bounce out there and play. If you remember Truss's history, he's been out there and played, I guess 2 years ago, 3 years ago. He's played out there before, and I can't say how he played, but we were able to run the ball.
Coach, it seems like Michael Williams had several, almost a dozen different pressures today. Just kind of talk about the game a little bit.
Really good pass rusher, man. He's our most dynamic rusher. You probably saw it better than me. I was watching the coverage, but I felt like he was back there a lot, and he's going to have to be effective for us in order to get pressure.
Kirby, three games in a row, you guys have had slow starts. What can you put your finger on? What are you seeing out there?
We adjust well at halftime, and we play really good in the second half.
What can you say about the first half?
I can say that we're going to play good in the second half. We're going to try to figure out what's going on in the first half. I thought that we created an identity today in how we came out and played in the second half, and give them credit and say, hey, good job. What can we do better? And try to keep adjusting and keep getting better. I mean, I thought their quarterback was on rhythm, and you got to do something to get him off rhythm. He was very effective that first drive. And, you know, we gave up 2 plays that we shouldn't give up. The big post to 17 on the second touchdown drive, and then the third, I don't know, third forever. And we gave up a big play. I just give them a lot of credit for that, less than us.
1 possession in the first quarter, 4 total in the first half. How much of that is the new clock rules, and how much of that is their ability to matriculate the ball?
Both. I mean, they play with pace. I mean, for them to play with pace, it's a long drive. You got to get off the field. And I told them, I said, you know, look, we're going to get 6 possessions in the second half. I don't know how many we end up getting. So we're going to get 6 possessions, and we're going to have to score on 4 out of 6. And we're going to win one moment at a time, and we're going to go out and do it over and over and again. And I mean, outside of the possessions that ended in field goals in the second half that we ended up missing, but outside of that, I thought we did really well with our possessions.
Kirby, how concerned are you about the kicking game and what you've seen in these first 3 games?
Well, I've seen better in practice. You know, he's been really consistent in practice, you know, I don't know, we'll go back, watch the tape, look at it, and continue to reevaluate it, because we got to do something there. We got to be able to score points. I'd like to not have to kick those field goals. That's the first answer.
Going back to DawgNation, just what did you see from him today, and how much of a boost is it for you guys when you have him?
Well, it's huge. He makes people miss in the hole. He gets yards at the contact. He's very confident. He's an experienced player. He's tough. He's just a traditional Georgia high school football player that's a really good player from a really tough area and effective runner. Great job.
Coach Rara Thomas had a couple of big plays, especially on that first drive in the second half. What was it like seeing his progression and now he's making an impact on the field for you?
Yeah, I thought he had his best week of practice last week, and you know, we got to find ways to get him the ball and use him and use his skill set. And then that second half, his number got called twice. He made both the plays. He did a great job.
What was your initial assessment of David Daniels' play with Javante Brown?
I don't know, because there's a couple plays where he played a little high, a little hesitant, but I do think he got better as the game went on, you know, and played better. And Dan played too, so those guys both played in that position with JB being out. And I thought they stepped up big time. You know, it was a tough game to go into for your first start.
Kendall Milton left the game with an injury, and then Marvin Jones Jr. wasn't there the other day. What's the update on him?
Yeah, so Kendall had, I'm not sure, I think they had taped him up and were saying that he might be able to come back. I want to say it was MCL, but I'm not sure. And we had Dylan and Dejan being able to go, and Marvin's dealing with a little bit of a sickness there, and hope to get him back this week.
It was how important it is for you guys to face adversity and how you respond. You talked a little bit about the identity, so what specifically did you see and learn about your team tonight?
Did they answer the bell? You know, I mean, there's lots that we can talk about. They got to do better. Lots. Starting fast, starting better. You know, what's causing it? Why are we doing it? You know, and the world has questions and all these things. And you know what? I found out a lot more about my team today than I did any other day this year. And I mean, I'm just thrilled that when I came in the locker room, they were committed to each other. They were talking about what they got to do better. Offense was over here, defense was over there. Nobody was bickering. Complete control, calm, amongst the storm, and they responded.
What do you say about Carson Beck and how he responded just to being pressured so much during this game?
Well, he did a good job. I don't even know what his numbers ended up being, but 27 of 35. Is that what he was? I mean, that's pretty good. You know, now, so many of those are runs, but that's the deal, and that's what he's done well. And he throws the ball down the field well. And I thought he got rid of the ball when he had to. He made plays with his feet. You know, he took off running and made plays. So Carson has done a tremendous job being the commander and leader of this offense. And does he have to get better? Yeah. He had some throws that were a little bit inaccurate, but very pleased with what Carson's done.
How close was Javon to being able to go today, and is it the same situation with Ladd?
No, Ladd was not dressed out.
Yeah, I just meant the same situation with Ladd as before.
Yeah, it's the same situation as before. He's back. Javon, I don't know. He was going to be a game time decision. He practiced a little bit on Thursday, I think it was. He went out and moved around and felt okay, and then he warm ups. He didn't feel like it was all there, and it bothered him. So we had to go with the other guys.
Obviously, you want to play to your standard and whatnot, but are you almost relieved that you got this test out of the way early in the season?
I'm not relieved. I'm not ever relieved. I mean, my expectation is we go out and dominate and create a nightmare and make people never want to play you again. We didn't do that today. We didn't like make them never want to play us again. But we did respond to adversity, and that's all it is. I mean, it's going to happen all over the country, guys. Go look. It's going to happen all over the country. People have to play close games to get better. And the expectation that's created for these teams that are the top tier teams, it wasn't created by them. It's created by perception. You are what you do on the field. And we are, right now, a team that has played 3 average first halves. I don't know if they're even average, but they have responded.
How do you feel like the secondary responded in the second half after Rattler made some big plays in the first half?
I don't know. I still thought we cut some guys loose. You know, we got more pressure, but we got to go to cover. They got good people that can throw and catch the ball. That's the name of the game, and he can throw it now. This guy can spin the ball. He can throw the ball, and he's played a lot of football.
Coach, you just mentioned getting more pressure. You also talked about Michael Williams. What do you think with the defensive line unit as a whole and how they kind of transformed from first half to second half?
I thought they were more disruptive. We had them off rhythm, so it's easy to say we got pressure in the second half. We had them behind the sticks, had them off rhythm. They were a little bit sloppier. They had us off rhythm in the first half, and momentum's a beautiful thing.
Pastor Jones finds the end zone for the second week in a row. How's he take advantage of his opportunity?
Good player, man. He's a perfect example of work hard, stay in a program, stick around, get calloused, been injured, just keep working. Just keep working, and your opportunity comes. I mean, the guy was a really good special teams player last year, and he goes out there today and makes two great runs, right? He had two really good runs. I know the one touchdown run, he does what he's supposed to do. He makes plays with his feet. I mean, he's a product of the culture that we create with hard work.
Kirby, I know Brock's obviously performing, playing a lot of snaps. Is he banged up? How much is he kind of fighting through something?
Sounds good to me. I mean, did he do something today to look like he was hurt?
No, just
He went to 10 for a minute.
Maybe go to the bathroom, Jim. I don't know.
They were saying on TV.
I missed it too. I didn't see it. All of a sudden running over people. I mean, he had two plays where he couldn't get a yard and he made 9. I mean, I'm very pleased with what Brock's doing.
What is that thing that he does where it's like going backwards? How often does he do that you see not in games? Y'all see that?
Going backwards?
I don't know how to describe
I missed it because the two of the runs, I was watching people blocking, praying we weren't getting hold. Over on their sideline, maybe?
Yeah, that deal. I don't know.
I just know I wouldn't want to tackle him. You've seen his thighs? I mean, he runs through tackles and hits people, and it's physical, so I don't know how he does it.
Speaking of holding, the one you're down there and knocking on the door, Tate gets the hold, and you guys, and that was just can you just talk about that particular?
Yeah, I didn't see it. I mean, it was on the other sideline. He pulled around. He got up, hell, I did it, and it was in one moment. We lost that moment. We got to win the next one, and we're literally playing moment by moment. And when you do that, it minimizes the pressure you feel in every moment because you're trying to move on to the next one. And we try to make it really simple for them.
How similar did this game feel to sort of like the Missouri game last year, and how proud are you that this team specifically was able to overcome the second half deficit?
Yeah, I don't know. I mentioned that at halftime to him. I've used that as a reference of we've been here before, we've done this before. We are resilient, and we have Shane said it after the game. He said, you showed why you have a championship caliber football team, because teams that are championship caliber, they find a way when they don't have their best game. We got to figure out why didn't we have our best games? I certainly felt like we had great practices, and I felt like we improved. I mean, I'll be honest, I thought we played so much better offensively. We didn't get rewarded for playing better because of A, kicks, and B, not cashing in the red area. We got to be more effective in the red area. But 29 first downs, good grief.
Along those same lines, what did you feel like you learned about your team today?
Resiliency. I mean, they're not going to quit. They're not going to point fingers and blame each other. And also learn we better get better.
What can you do to get better in the first half? Is it starting practice? What is film? What is it?
Better plan. I mean, better execution. You got to break things down. We had one less possession because they got the ball first. And that first possession seemed like it was really long. So, opportunities, getting better. I wish I had the answer. I don't. I'm not smart enough to have the answer to that.
Coach, I think I saw you with your arm around Carson running in before the half. I'm curious what that message was.
We believe in you. We're getting ready to come out here and do this thing. They're bringing a lot of pressure. We got answers for pressure. We practiced pressure. We knew that they were going to bring pressure. I would bring pressure if I was them too. And I thought he said, Coach, we got it. We're good. He was very confident about it. He was not frustrated. That's the one thing about that kid now. He's not emotional. And that's the opposite of me.
You mentioned a little further on Carson. You mentioned last week how, refreshing it is, or assuring it is when he comes off the field. He knows exactly what he has seen.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit more about that.
Well, they play quarters coverage, and he's reading this, and he goes high-low, and he sees it, and he throws it. He does a good job. Now, he can't be perfect when they get pressure in there. So there's times that things are beyond his control. But he probably made 5 or 6 checks today, and the looks that we didn't want to run that play, and we want to run another play, and he did a great job of that. He keeps us out of bad situations, which is what you ask your quarterback to do. We put a lot on him. Put as much on him as we put on Stetson. He handles that well. I think the guy's got good command of our offense and understands it.
Kirby, momentum is such an intangible thing. Can you just talk about the spark of energy or enthusiasm or whatever that's going through the bench and the air, when the third quarter starts, if you got it rolling and your defense is stopping and your offense is scoring, just that energy and enthusiasm, what's that like on the sideline?
It's awesome. I mean, I can't put it really into words. I mean, I felt it. I felt us taking over the game with the momentum of the fans, and it was like a steamroll, and I think decisions you make as a coach, whether you're doing this, or this, that goes into your thought process, because we got momentum. I don't want to lose momentum, so I'm not going to do something silly or stupid right here. Let's keep momentum going, and I think that becomes really important.
On Ty Key, I mean, an athletic pass breakup in the first half and then closing out the game in the second, to see all that he's come through to get to this point, how rewarding is it to see him really just go out there and play so well? It's
very rewarding. He's tough, he's physical, he's a leader on our team, he practices so hard. I mean, he holds kids to a standard. And, he had a tough year last year. He was superseded, he was upseated by a younger player, and he had a hard time with that, and he overcame that. He told our team before the season, he said, guys, I lived in a tough world last year. I was always upset and frustrated I wasn't playing. I was coming off an injury, and now this year he's playing well. He's playing with great toughness. He just embodies what we're about in teaching other players what to do. He's a great kid.
Let's take two more questions.
This was the first game that Dalen ever didn't have to split snaps, really. What helped him earn that starting spot across Kamari? How do you think he did?
Practice. I don't think he played great, but he practiced better. And if other guys want to play, they need to practice better.
What do you attribute the red zone issues today to?
I had to watch the tape. I can't even say penalties, going backwards. I don't know. We had success on the first down play, and then we don't cash it in. And I got to watch it and see. I can't even remember those sequences, but we certainly got to. It seems like when you're 1st and 10 on the 10, there's really not a worse situation from the 10 in, because you like it when you hit a big play and you score, or you hit a big play to the 4 and then we always score. But when we have 1st and 10 to the 10, there's 20 yards right there, and we have not executed well there. We got to work on it and get better at it. Thanks, guys.